What's up, everybody? No notice, no intro, right to it. I'm sorry. I've been doing better with giving notice and giving time, intros, and all of that. But something that I'm going to be doing more of that I used to do on my other page, but I haven't really done much of, especially lately on this page, is to give you guys those topics where I only have so much time to actually make the live and I just think of it, so I do it right away. Maybe at some point in time, I will start just writing these down and then having them as pre recorded videos. But right now, I'm on go mode, so I just had to start with it and do it right now in this 30-minute time slot that I have before my training. So I'm going to start like this. I started watching reality TV in, I believe, 98, 99, around that time with The Real World. I think The Real World was the first reality TV show that I ever watched. I've watched many, many, many shows since then. But a lot of the shows that I watched, there was no social media at the time. So I just turned the TV on. When it was on, I saw it. When it was the off season, it was off. I didn't think about or care about what the cast was doing. I just saw them as these mystical, mythical characters that I'm going to see on my TV once or twice a year. And then they just disappear into the abyss when they're not on my TV. I didn't even when the social media era started, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, whatever else there is out there, I wasn't following any of them. I was only following people that I know, friends and family. And if I was following anyone outside of friends and family, it wasn't reality TV. It would be Oprah, it would be Obama, it would be like people who are really big and famous on the world scale, or my family and friends. That's it. There was no in between. There was no reality TV people that I was following after their shows were done. So what happened for me is in 2020, maybe earlier than 2020, probably about 2018 or so, I joined a couple of Facebook communities for some TV shows, primarily The Challenge, which is a show that is owned by MTV, but I think they are now, I think Paramount Plus now owns the rights to The Challenge. But anyways, people from that group or those groups that I was in would post things from the cast, Instagram, Facebook, whatever. And it's funny because I have a interview of Ayana from Road Rules and The Challenge, and you guys see in my intro or my outro, I think in my outro now, because I changed that to my outro, where Ayana was like, "You were one of the first people who reached out to me." Ayana was either one of the first cast that I reached out to or the first cast. So it wasn't just that she was new to having people reach out to her. I was new to reaching out to them. I did not reach out to them. So I was like, oh, wow, she actually responded. And not just that she responded, she left me voice notes and she was asking me about my family, my dad at the time. And she was just really nice, nicer than I expected. This is all background information. So in 2020, it was either 2020 or 2021. I think it was 2021, as a matter of fact. I learned about Challenge Mania, which is these events put on by Derek from the Challenge and his business partner Scott, where challengers come to a venue, a bar, um, comedy club, whatever location they happen to partner with, and they bring people usually from that city. Sometimes they travel from wherever they are to come there, but a lot of times they get the challengers from the show The Challenge that live in that city, and they'll all come out. You can talk to them, you can take pictures with them, etc. So the first one that I ever went to, I can't remember who all was there, but a surprise guest that came was Johnny Bananas. Derek and Mark were there. It might have been Nehemiah that was there, and Ryan from the challenge. So when they first walked in through the door, they got swarmed by fans, grabbing them, grabbing at their arm, tugging at their shirts. I was like, this is wild. So I said, I'm just going to kind of sit down and wait until the crowd dissipates and then make my way to somebody to say hi and to take my picture or whatever. And I noticed that the crowd was not dissipating. Every time they stood up, whether they were going to the bathroom, whether they were going outside for a smoke, whether they were doing whatever, if they stood up, if they were on the floor, there was people surrounding them. Fair enough, it's a fan event. You know, you pay money, and in some cases, some of those tickets are good money. And I'm not really saying that there's anything wrong with being a fan. You know, I'm a fan. I tell all of them that, even the people that I ask for interviews, I'm like, I am a fan. That's the reason why I'm asking you for the interview. But I'll never forget the very first time that I went to talk to somebody was at that first event that I went to, the challenge event. And it was Mark Long. And there was a line of people waiting to talk to Mark. So I got up, I got in the back of the line. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go talk to Mark, get a picture with him. This is pretty cool. And it was the first time I'd ever seen anyone from one of these reality TV shows in real life. So I stood in the line, I waited. It wasn't a huge line, but you know, he was taking his time speaking to people. So it was a little ways until I got to the front of the line. So I got close to the front of the line, and somebody walked over to me and physically put like a forearm into my side. And I was looking at the guy because I'm like, this has got to be an accident or a mistake. And he says to me, I have a VIP pass. And I'm looking at him like, what does that got to do with your forearm in my side? And you know what? I was like, I don't want I don't want this to become a scene. I don't want this to be something crazy. So you can go first. I did tell him, don't touch me like that again, but you can go first, you know? And then as I was talking to other fans that were in there, they were showing me pictures. I've met Johnny in Los Angeles, in California, that was stupid. Los Angeles, California, Florida, in New York, in Connecticut, in St. Louis, in whatever town. And they're talking as if that means that Johnny Bananas is their people. And again, I'm not saying that a fan can never become friends with somebody they meet that's from the show, because I have a few people that I would probably consider friends that I've met from these shows at this point. But for me, like, my thing is, if I have to pay every time that I meet you, if I have to pay to meet you, if I had to buy a ticket, if I had to buy a ticket for something, for an event that you're a part of, every single time that I see you, then in my eyes, our relationship is transactional. I think I have a very healthy sense of that. That's why even when people tell me, oh, you're so lucky to be friends with Hannah, you're so lucky to be friends with Wes, you're so lucky to be friends with whoever, people that you see me do interviews with, they're not my friends. And I'm not saying anything crazy by saying that, because you ask them, they're like, oh, yeah, they'll probably tell you, yeah, I like Mark. I know Mark. I like him. He's a good guy from what I know. But do I see them outside of the events? Do I speak to them outside of the interviews? Do I see them outside of the venues? If I say, hey, I'm throwing this and this, will you come? Are they going to be there? We are friendly acquaintances. It's just like the person that you see at the deli every morning. Like, let's say you go to the deli to get your breakfast sandwich and your coffee every morning, and you see them every time you go there. You have conversations. Hey, how's the family? You tell them, oh, I got 2 kids, blah blah blah. This is where I go to work. Work is kind of rough. You have friendly interactions with them. But that's it. If you happen to go to a different deli, will you be coming back to that deli? It's the same thing. Like, if I stopped going to events, which one of them are still going to be in contact with me? And that right there answers the question for me of, are we friends or not? I have seen fans do wild things. I have seen fans get in fights. I have seen at events. I've seen fans get in fights at events over what they feel is their priority to talk to somebody from the show over another person. And I'm sitting here like, if you both had to pay for a ticket to get in here, then it means that your relationship with that person is transactional. And if it's not transactional, well, there's a solution to fighting people in the event. Hit them up to meet up outside of the event if you are really their people. Then there's a whole other layer of fans, right? Another layer of fans who they obsess over the person on the internet. I am obsessed with this person. I've watched every single show that they've ever been on. I follow everything that they do, everything that they post on Instagram. Oh, they were over here and they traveled over here. They went to this place over here. This is what their family looks like. This is their sister. This is their mom. This is their kid. Their kid's name is Emmanuel. This is this and this is this, right? So they already feel some kind of connection, even if they've never spoken to the person. And let's say they have. Let's say they've left some comments and the person has responded to their comments. They screen capture all those comments. They remember, okay, such and such responded to me on this and this and this and that, right? Then they meet them and they're like, hey, I'm your biggest fan. I've seen you do this and this. I watched this. I've seen every episode of every show, blah, blah, blah. And they get a good response reaction from the person. And the person gives them a hug, takes a picture with them, and says, hey, I'm going to follow you. In their mind, we're besties now. We are besties. So then they come to the next event and it's like, oh, yeah, I saw him at the last event. It usually happens more, I think, with male show cast than female. That's the reason why I just quickly jumps to him, because I thought of CT as an example. When I went to that event with CT, it was a zoo. It was a zoo. I have never had so many hands and elbows and shoulders on me. I don't know how I made it out of there without fighting somebody, because I was so irritated. I was like, man, I paid too much for this ticket to be physically having to shove people for my spot in the line. Nobody moves me that much. So for myself, I have I think a healthier sense of reality than most. I will never leave an event, even with somebody who I have a good rapport with. You see the thumbnail picture is of me and Hannah. I think I have a very solid rapport with Hannah. I've met her like 3, 4 times. You know, we have good conversation when I see her. She did an interview with me, but it's not like I'm sitting here making a claim to fame. Hey, this is my bestie. You know, I don't go to an event and see her talking to somebody else and I'm like, move on over. This is my friend right here. Get out of my way. This is my person. This is my number one. No. So that's just something I wanted to talk about that I have experienced. Not really so much at challenge events, but not so much at survivor events, I would say. I don't know why the survivor crowd is seems a little more down to earth, but the challenge crowds and the Big Brother crowds, those ones seem to be the ones that are most notorious in losing track of reality when it comes to their situation, their relationships with these people. That is just my estimation. And I think that that kind of knowledge also helps me with when certain people are saying certain things to me online. Just knowing where some people are coming from and knowing where their minds are. Because you look at certain arguments that people get into, let's say Big Brother, you look at certain arguments people have with you, and you're like, this has a personal touch to it. It feels and seems a little more spicy than it should be based on what actually happened in the show. It's because of that invisible connection that they feel they have, that they may or may not have. But that's just the way that it goes. So that's my little story about my event experience. And I'm hopping off. For those who follow my Big Brother content, once I get a chance to later, I'm going to review everything from what I've seen, what I've heard. They're possibly trying to organize a vote flip on Waffle Wednesday. Sorry, I'm moving around because I'm trying to get out of the house. They're trying to organize a vote flip for Waffle Wednesday and get Mimi out instead of Felicia, possibly. Felicia's been on the campaign trail all day. From what I know, Cam doesn't want that. Corey seems to want it. And I'll be on here to talk to y'all later.